What is going on, guys? Carter here with Edged Mindset. I have another knife video for you. I've been hitting the knives pretty hard lately and kind of getting back into them. I kind of got out for a little bit, but here I am back into knives. So I wasn't going to do a video on this guy because it's been out for a while. There's nothing all that amazing about it. I did a video on a previous one that I owned, and this is very similar but different. But that's actually why I wanted to do this video, because I wanted to talk about primarily how big of a difference some subtle changes can make in a knife from a visual standpoint, right? Aesthetic standpoint, pride of ownership type thing. How some of these little changes can actually have a big impact on how much you like a knife. So this is the Stitch manual. Came out, I don't know, what, a year ago? Almost a year ago, something like that. Like a lot of Microtech's latest Ram-Lok releases, super crazy popular at first and then starts to die down and you can pick these up. So I had one of these that I picked up on the secondary market that I paid way too much for. It was very close to this. It was a full stonewash blade, partial serrations, and then it had the same OD handle, but it was smooth G10. I had that. It was okay. I kind of liked it. I ended up selling it. And then I came across this guy and I was like, it just seems so much better, even though it's very, very similar. The only difference, obviously it's full plain blade, no serrations, but it has the apocalyptic on the grinds and then the satin on the flats compared to the full stonewash that I had before. And the biggest difference is the fluting on the handles here. So you can see that milling pattern that goes across. And it's one of those things where on paper you would think, this is OD green, by the way, same OD green. On paper you would think, it's pretty much the same knife, right? But there's something about these little texture changes that just look so much better. This fluting, in my opinion, just makes this look so much nicer. When it had the plain kind of G10, kind of like this guy here, except without the frag, when it was just kind of like that, it just seemed kind of cheap. I don't know, to me anyways, it seemed kind of cheap. I just didn't really like it. And the color was a little too bright. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know, it just looked a little cheesy. But this one, because of the fluting, yeah, it creates kind of a cool, interesting pattern going across, but the way it hits the light, it adds a lot more dark because you get the shadows of the fluting there, and it just adds more like depth to the color, I guess, and kind of darkens it up a little just because of the shadows. Kind of similar to shiny black versus matte black, you know, it just has a completely different feel, and that fluting does that on here. And then the apocalyptic, I am just a sucker for acid wash, stonewash blades. Still am, always have been. Sorry, had to take a quick little break and grab a drink. I've been talking too much. But I love that apocalyptic finish. Always have been. The acid wash stuff, I've just dug it ever since it first started popping off on custom knives back in the day. And now it's, you know, on production knives, and I still gravitate towards it. I don't know if that's a general consensus among people or if it's just because I'm an old head when it comes to knives, and it's actually thought of as kind of being cheesy, but I still love the acid wash. And Microtech does something cool with theirs a lot of the time is they do the two-tone, so they acid wash the whole thing and then they finish grind the flats and you get this nice two-tone finish. All of the hardware is acid washed, the actuation lever here, all of the screws, which is critical. It's critical to make it seem homogeneous, right? Because when you have like a nice acid wash blade, but then you've got these shiny screws and shiny pocket clip, it just, I don't know, it just seems off, right? It just seems half done. And Microtech is, I'm gonna close that blade before I cut myself. Microtech did a great job of just doing it on everything. The titanium backspacer with the gear pattern there, the bent pocket clip, deep carry pocket clip, even the screws that hold in the pocket clip, it's all got that acid wash finish. Everything, all the way inside, all of this stuff. The stop pin right there. It's you know, those kind of details are kind of, you know, some people think these knives are overpriced because it's just G10 and steel with a little bit of titanium. But to me, a knife this size, M390, it's actually their proprietary M390, made in the USA with kind of these little bits of detail, you know, this kind of stuff, finishing everything so that it matches and it looks like it belongs, I think makes it worth the price. And another thing that's cool about Microtech that I don't see in a lot of different companies is they don't charge extra for a lot of these features. So this one has this, this MSI here has the frag pattern in here, and this one has the fluting with the acid wash. It's the same price as the plain Jane stone wash and just plain handle. They don't charge more for these. Most companies will charge something more, right? Microtech does charge more for serrations and black coated blades, but like the acid wash ones, for some reason they don't. And so in my opinion, I don't know, it's just a kind of a cool deal. The other interesting thing, this is the 4th Ram-Lok that I've owned from Microtech. This is my second Stitch, and then I've got 2 MSIs, and they're all pretty solid in terms of blade play, but all of mine have had kind of just a little bit of, I don't want to say wiggle, I don't know, almost like if you really muscle it, you get a little clicky. Now it's still 100% rock solid. I am completely 100% faithful that it would never slip out of lock. However, you do get a little bit of clicky, and I think it's just kind of this thing kind of moving around just a little bit. But this one has no play at all. All my other Ram-Loks, my other Ram-Lok Stitch had a little bit if you really muscle it, but this one is like, you know, I hate to say it, but bank vault tight on this guy, which is pretty dang cool. Side note, little bit of a difference in action between these two. I bought both of these brand freaking new, actually from the same exact retailer, but it seems like the MSI's action's a little bit looser. It's a little easier to open up, and it's a little easier to disengage the Ram-Lok. There's less spring tension than what seems to be on the Stitches. And maybe it's just it feels that way kind of thing. But I noticed that on my other Stitch too. The action was just a little bit stiffer and a little bit harder to disengage the lock than both of the MSIs that I have. But maybe it's just luck of the draw, or maybe it's just perception, something like that. So yeah, really cool. I wanted to show off the knife itself and talk about how these finishes can make a big difference in how the knife presents and how much you like it. Now, that being said, I really like this guy. However, the Stitch, especially in the manual, is still kind of a goofy knife. I don't know. I still, like, at first glance, it's cool, it's aggressive, it's unique. But when you start looking at it and you look at how little cutting edge there is for how big it is because of this giant choil, it's a little bit goofy, you know. I don't know. It's kind of a weird type knife, how it's got a big handle here, and then it kind of sprouts out, and then you just got this little edge up here. But actually, let's compare it to, I mean, if you take this guy, which is quite a bit smaller, but you look at the actual cutting edge, they're like the same amount of cutting edge on both of these knives. And yet, you know, this one's substantially larger. It's kind of interesting. But I try not to focus on that too much because still very cool. All right, guys, that's it. Let me know down below. What do you think of what Microtech's been doing with these Ram-Loks? I'm really digging them. I think they're pretty dang cool. All right, guys, I'm out. Catch you later.